caravans that used to cross Asia bringing luxury goods. So there you go, that's what the Silk Road looks like in train. What I'm saying is that maybe there's a different way. It's not just on the edge. There's stuff that's going on. If Nike are prepared to put money and release a train like this without someone saying, no one's ever heard of the Silk Roads, that would be one thing. The greatest reason why we hear about the Silk Road right now is because all of this stuff going on in China. It's all off the pages for the last 2 or 3 months because of Brexit, because of the US election, but the Silk Road being reinvigorated across Asia, all over, connecting different parts of the world together. Today, for those of you who follow the news closely, which I hope you do all read the newspapers, you heard of newspapers, it's not just social media. Today, the first major shipment of cars from Europe through to China took place. And who can tell me which 2 types of cars, 146 million pounds of cars have been shipped in the last month from Europe to China? Can anyone have a guess at what 2 brands of cars arrived today for the first time in China by train? Bentley and Range Rover. Across train networks that 2 years ago carried 7,500 containers from China to Europe. In 2020, that number is going to be 7.5 million. That's a lot. That's a big change while we're trying to work out whether Brexit, exactly, we know Brexit means Brexit, but we don't know quite what any of that means. While we are watching a world try to come to terms with itself close to home, stuff is happening elsewhere that is important. Here we go, Silk Road, there we are. Now this chap is, you can laugh at him, he already has a seat on the Security Council, and is obviously playing a fundamentally important role in global politics, influencing the United States elections, heavily engaged in Syria, but also in Iran, also in South Asia, also in China, also, by the way, in Europe. Does anybody know what the name of the missile system that's just been deployed into the Kaliningrad enclave in Europe? Okay, guys, you are Oxford undergraduates. You are the creme de la creme. I'm surprised by that, because that stuff is not make-believe or playtime. This stuff is serious. I'm deadly serious. Deadly serious. The world that you are studying in your books about how the First World War started, about genocide in Europe in the Second World War, about Wars of the Roses, whatever topic you're studying, the Byzantine Empire, whatever you're studying, there is a connection to understand some of those themes and to be trying to be an early warning system. The future doesn't, the history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, like Mark Twain says. But there are some important things that you need to be tracking going on, because if you're not doing it, the next generation of, I don't know what you're going to be, teachers, charity workers, business people, academics, if you're not doing it, what hope is there for anybody else? I'm not going to tell you off too much, I promise. It's a Tuesday evening, and God bless you for being here rather than in the pub. Vladimir Putin, last Christmas time, took me and a few others by surprise by mentioning Silk Roads in his State of the Union address in the Duma at Christmas time. Vladimir Putin, last summer, this is him modelling his James Bond look, James Bond band look, announced that his summer holidays last year were going to be spent looking at the treasures of the sites of the Silk Roads that lay in Russia. He is, whatever you like to think about him, and it turns out you probably don't know much, but you read what you've seen in the newspapers, but if you haven't bothered to find out what he's actually moving around, you probably don't know anything that's more than impressionistic. He's quite a good bellwether for what is actually going on in the world and likely to happen. So it's worth tracking him without sneering, right? To try to work out what he's trying to do. Those Silk Roads are rising and taking shape all around us. Now for you guys, the reason you don't study it here, the reason that it's all a bit peripheral, apart from 2 or 3 hands that went up, because you're doing a general paper where something is connected to the East and one of your tutors feels that they should mention it somewhere or somehow, by and large doesn't really connect in. You'll get a sort of nodding glance. When we think of the Silk Road, we think of something like this, right? That looks, I mean, does anybody have any, well, I'm not going to test you, it's a Tuesday evening. There is no Silk Road, right? It's a bad use of a term invented in the late 19th century by Ferdinand von Richthofen in the plural, the Silk Roads, because, and that alone should tell us how we should use the word, because it's sort of a first point to suggest multiple ways, multiple exchanges. Eastwards, come and sit down, I won't bite. it's not, well, when we think about it like this, the Silk Road, and your friends, family, maybe you guys, you think, well, wouldn't it be fun to go along the Silk Road? We tend to think of this as going east to west, and we don't really think about what exchange means, you know. And when you go into a shop and you buy something, an exchange takes place, and you need to track what happens to the money that goes in the other direction. So this idea that it's always luxury goods coming from the east begs the question, well, why did the east have luxury goods? Where are the luxury goods in the west? Second, if there's an exchange, what happens? What's the balance that goes in the other direction? And so this is very unhelpful, this idea that there's a sort of motorway, and this is the route that it takes. There is no route, and in fact, most of the exchanges along the Silk Roads are local. The same way that most of the shopping you do is here in Oxford going from A to B. Every now and again, when you're in Amsterdam or in Jordan or New York, you'll buy a few things. But most of the times your exchanges are local. And this sort of model that we're trying to think about is no different. It's about multiple, low-level, high-frequency exchanges and tracking those elite, high-value goods are the ones that catch the eyes of chroniclers and writers and so on and so forth, and museums, that things can get out of control unless you frame what we're looking at. So I'm looking at this spine of Asia. I'm broadly speaking, I'm not uninterested in Europe or Western Europe. I don't think I've got an enormous amount that's original to say, but it seems to me that this bit in the middle, I'll explain why, is the most important. But anyway, the good news for you guys is you don't even have to study this. Can anybody tell me has anyone been here, by the way, so you're not cheating? Yes, okay, so don't answer if you've been there. If anybody hasn't been there, tell me where this is. Columbia, you're an undergraduate?
Yeah, in biology actually.
Okay, put your money on, okay.
I think it's Samarkand.
This is Samarkand, okay. There's beautiful lapis, there's beautiful reflections in the sunshine, not today where it's about -30 today in Samarkand. So they're having it worse than we are. How about this? Anybody can answer this one. I mean, anyone is allowed to answer it. Can anybody tell me where this is? This is the Great Madrasa attached to the Great Mosque. Well, this is Herat in western Afghanistan. It looks quite impressive to me. I bet you if I showed you a picture of Westminster Abbey, you'd know what it was. Probably the Vatican, probably Hagia Sophia, other buildings you can name. Why not these? Here, this is the Ark Wall in Bukhara in Uzbekistan, Khiva, also Uzbekistan, slightly unpromising, but you know, makes for nice photographs. And here, the inside the Shah Mosque in Isfahan, which is, as it happens, the inside of the cover of my book. This part of the world we don't pay any attention to. And it's not that there's me talking in Sydney, where I was asked to come and talk about it. I put that in because my wife isn't here. She says never put a picture of this up in a slideshow. We never talk about the Silk Roads and these sort of Samarkand and Isfahan and Kashgar and Tashkent and so on. They all sound quite exotic. And they also sound quite interesting. But none of you probably can give a really good explanation for where do they come from and why did they disappear? Why were they suddenly important and why they're no longer important? Why don't you learn about them? And the reason you don't learn about them is, well, two reasons. First, no one ever says that they're important, so you trust your teachers, right? That's the problem with education. You trust the idiot who stands at the front, who tells you stuff. That's the same thing at school, that's the same thing at university. And there's no way you can break out without feeling like you're standing on a cliff and jumping into the abyss. So instead of learning about here these camels and these silks, this one here from about 500 years old, this one here, very rare silk, 6th century. These wonderful scenarios again, great photos. Instead you learn about these guys. I'm not going to test you, this is Romans of Britain. Most of you who've been educated through the British system will recognise this from your primary and secondary schools. You learn about the Romans in Britain, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. And then the next stop is 1066. So broadly, out of our last 2,000 years of history, 1,000 years is irrelevant. You're not told about it. Not told about it. We used to call it the Dark Ages. And then those of us who work in late antiquity who sort of have to worry about something, we decided that maybe it's better to think about continuities and change and transitions. But it is the Dark Ages insofar as the levels of smelting of metal between the sack of Rome in 410 and about 1100 going down to Neolithic levels. People can't read and write in Europe in what used to be called the Dark Ages. that 1,000 years that you get pushed over. And because you don't learn anything in this period, you don't really hear about the Tang dynasty or the Song dynasty in China. The rise of Islam, it gets brushed against these days, very briefly, but you don't hear a great deal about the creation of multiple empires over this period, because what matters is the Romans in Britain, and then the Normans in Britain, which is, I still never quite understood it, an invading French force via Scandinavia that do conquer Britain. So anyway, that's a different story for our immigration crisis today. The next thing you probably look at, I did Henry VIII, I swear to God, at least 3 times at school, possibly 4. And, I suppose, are anybody doing the Tudors here? There are some of you. Okay, so you know the question you're going to get in finals, which is, was he a bad king and a bad husband? Or a bad husband and a good king? I don't think anyone could. I don't think you can do well in an exam if you say he's a good king and also a good husband. It's quite hard to pull off. But you know about Henry VIII. Henry VIII is very important. Then you get to this guy. You know who this is? Well done, Guido. Franz Ferdinand, Battle of the Somme, or the trenches. I showed this the other day to a bunch of students. Who's that? You are smart. Okay, don't hope that's all, okay? And here we go. All of this is, broadly speaking, that is the kind of narrative of your history syllabus from school through to today, with a few little bells on the edge, right? You might have had some topic thrown in at some point. Maybe some of you a bit more adventurous would have looked at other areas and topics, but all defined by the fact that they are quite exotic and peripheral. It's a slightly unfair word to use, but peripheral. If that stuff that I showed you, if Herat, if Bukhara, if Khiva, if Samarkand were really important, someone would have said something. But instead we do all of this stuff. Because this is what we really look at when we look at history of the world. We look at Europe, and those of you who are looking at other parts of the world, I'm going to be slightly bend it in my favour, you tend to look at European engagements with other parts of the world. In the Americas, in Africa, in all parts of Asia. So this is what we know about. And in fact, I'd say this isn't, not even this is what we know about. We don't even know about Europe. That's what you know about. And I know, if I asked you, because you're very well read and smart and Oxford and so on and so forth, that all of you have knowledge about this part of the world. That's not just restricted to what you've studied, actually, it's what you know about and what you're interested in. So, can anybody name me an Italian, just put your hand up if you know, an Italian composer? You've all heard of Verdi and Puccini, right? Please then. I will point at you if you don't put your hand up. German philosophers, we can all name until the cows come home. French novelists, Spanish artists, Britain and so forth. We know all that stuff, we know them because they matter. Can anybody, unless you've done a paper to do specifically touch on China, can anybody name me, not the best or the worst, but can anybody give me the name, without shouting it out, because I do want to embarrass, I'm not going to point at individuals, can anybody name me a Chinese emperor? Not a good or a bad one, any Chinese emperor. 1, I might point at 2, 3, 4. This is the brightest bunch of of history graduates undergraduates in the country. Can anybody name for me a famous Arab pop star or cultural figure of any kind? So you're doing one, guy. 2. Okay, 2 or 3. Russian contemporary novelist, contemporary artist, pop star, film star. Okay, not many hands going up. So that's, how about India? Can anybody tell me one of the top 20 biggest grossing Indian films? You've all heard about Bollywood. Top 20 highest grossing films in Bollywood in the last 50 years, 10 years. Chinese films, novelists, painters, artists, singers. Not much. Okay. That tells me something about your centre of gravity. This isn't just your fault. This is the problem of history faculties. This is the problem about history. This is the problem about how we understand the world around us. Because actually, it's not just this that's bad. Even this is pretty poor. Can anybody tell me a great Hungarian, Croatian, Serbian, Slavonic writer of the Middle Ages from the 1000 until 1800? Or Swedish film star? Or who's the greatest cultural figure in Poland? Apart from Chopin, who spent all his time in France. Does anybody know who's the national poet of Czech Republic, Slovakia, Bulgaria, Romania, you name it? Okay, so that tells me that it's right that you understand your own history, it's right that you understand the Battle of Hastings and Henry VIII, but if your eyelids are stitched together because you navel gaze, staring at this part of the world, thinking that this stuff matters in importance, you're going to get at least two things wrong. First, your perspective is going to be so narrow that either it is blinkered or it's fundamentally wrong. And second, your view of what history means is like you all have friends like that. None of you like that because you're historians, but you all have friends like that who are just very self-obsessed and they only talk about themselves. And this part of the world, let's say I think it's from, let's call it Athens eastwards, that's where 70% of the world's population live today. And between you haven't successfully answered many questions about where the majority of people live. So a bit less Henry VIII, a bit more other stuff. Now, why that's all interesting and surprising to me is, and this is going to get nasty, this is the Ashmolean Museum. Honestly, I'm not going to judge how many of you have been into the Ashmolean Museum properly. The Ashmolean Museum. So when I was growing up, when I came to Oxford for the first time, this is Ashmolean, this is the nicest corner, I'm afraid. I wasn't at Christchurch, not at Christchurch, but this is the nicest corner in Oxford. I am at Worcester, this is the nicest college library in Oxford. And here, just for contrast, I took this picture earlier this year in Sydney. It struck me as rather odd growing up that all of these wonderful buildings that I think look stunning, why are buildings in Britain look like they are Greek or Roman temples? What connection is there, apart from that Romans in Britain nonsense that we've heard about? Because Britain really wasn't important to the Roman Empire, genuinely not important. But we've rewritten our past to to imply architecturally, artistically, that we are connected to the ancient world in a way that we're not. We've rewritten that past. So if you do go to the Ashmolean, and please, I hope none of you lied to me, put your hand up, you'll see the cast gallery, which is filled with British aristocrats of the 18th and 19th centuries dressed in togas, representing themselves as Roman senators, because that's how things. So all these wonderful buildings. Why we have here these columns? If you could resurrect some ancient Greek, Aristotle, Alexander the Great, whoever you like, and pointing at these buildings, they say, well, that's amazing how far our culture spread, but we were genuinely uninterested in these parts of the world. So I'm interested in this bit here. I'm not a Chinese, I'm not a sinologist, I don't have Indic languages, but this bit here in the middle seems to be the most interesting and important bit to be studying. If you really want to understand, well, I don't like the word world history, but if you want to understand history, because as a little boy, the first person I remember learning about was Alexander the Great, and it I think, crossed my mind even when I was 8. Why was it that if we have all these buildings here, why did Alexander the Great never cross his mind to head into Europe? Why did the Greeks, I read a lot of Thucydides and Xenophon and all the great Greek writers, and there's no engagement at all with other parts of Europe. It's totally irrelevant to the Greek-speaking world. There are a few settler colonies in places like Syracuse, Ragusa, and Dubrovnik, bits and pieces here and there, Phoenicians likewise. But all the action, if you study Greek, is all this way. You don't hear about European leaders lashing their hands out or getting angry when they couldn't protect. You don't read about European armies being beaten off at great battles and celebrated in song and dance. Even Troy, of course, here in Asia Minor. This is what mattered. This part of the world. And the first question any historian should ask is, well, why? What is it that when Alexander the Great gets to the Oxus here and cries salt tears, to Indus, I beg your pardon, here, and cries salt tears because he conquered the world and there was nothing left to conquer? What made him think, what was it that this offered? What was it that made him think that these were the boundaries that were all that were necessary? And if you were a Greek, you realised that your entire centre of gravity is not from Athens facing this way to where you will go on some holidays maybe, but facing this way to places where you probably don't go on some holidays. But that centre of gravity was the same for Rome. So, because you've all grown up reading Asterix, stuff like that, and seeing that terrific, what's that one with Gladiator with Russell Crowe, fantastic. And because of the European Union, and because of Europe, and because of those buildings, we sort of think that, well, this is sort of the rump of the Roman Empire. And some of you do Byzantine, I don't recognise it. Any Byzantinists in here? I'm not, I don't know if I'm not. All of you will know that actually the most important part of the Roman Empire was this part here. So much so that in the year 330, this town here on the juncture of the east and west on the Bosphorus, Byzantium, was refounded by the Emperor Constantine and called New Rome, because this part of the empire, this city on the shin of Italy, was in the wrong place. It was too far from the action. This is what mattered. And in fact, that bit when the Dark Ages starts, more or less pushing all of this area into oblivion, well, the eastern part of the Mediterranean flourishes and continues to grow and keep going. In fact, to a very surprising and remarkable degree, until you realise, well, the most important parts of the Roman Empire were, well, its economic muscles all came from here. Not from Spain, where it's 45 degrees in summer, or in France and in Britain where it rains all the time. You can grow lots of crops, but they're in the wrong place, and there are no towns, no cities, no taxable units, very little revenue, generally prosperous, generally peaceful, but actually fairly basic. This stuff mattered. And this stuff mattered both because of the products of the wheat of the Nile, but also because of the shipping lanes that went around the corner through towards India and Ceylon. When you start to read Tamil literature, when you start to look at some of the materials from the Arab world, eventually, when that starts to be recorded, you start to find wealth of documents, wealth of materials that talk about the scale of trade with the East. And in fact, because I don't always, as all of you will know from your history tutors, you can't rely just on the written word. There is also data in the form of coins. And we find Roman coins across India, in the Laccadive Islands, all over the Indus Valley, in such large quantities that not only can we have some sort of idea about what the scale of that trade is, but we start to see local dynasties in northern India modelling their coinage in weight and design on the coinage of Imperial Rome. So these kind of connections, we can talk about a globalised world, minus the Americas and to Columbus, but a globalised world at least 2,000 years ago. Pliny starts to talk about the goods that are brought from the East, particularly the silks, saying that the amount of money that goes out of the Roman, a bit like some of the Brexiteers, Liam Fox would be Pliny's equivalent today, saying the amount of money that leeches out of the Roman Empire to fund regimes elsewhere, it's disgraceful that people should buy Roman, live Roman, and not let money, keep money within a kind of internal economy, stop trading with other people because it weakens you. You have people like Seneca, sour old goat, saying it's disgusting seeing how women show off their curves to men who aren't just their husbands wearing the silk, which is incredibly expensive and what a waste of money. We start to see foodstuffs, we start to see all kinds of exchanges gearing up to come to Rome once Rome takes control of the Nile. And around about the same time, it starts to push its frontiers eastwards, because despite what Gladiator tells you and those hairy Goths wearing furs and so on, and unable to read, write, or wash properly, Rome's primary prestige enemy and rival was here, in the east, in the Parthian Empire. So when Rome goes, this part, or this Rome, old Rome goes, this part carries on going for 1,000 years. And you should be asking, why is that? Why do you not study late antiquity? Why do you not study Justinian? Why do you not study the Comneni? Why do you not study the Byzantine Empire? Why is it even called the Byzantine Empire? Because what do these guys actually call themselves? Roman. Roman Emperor, they're Roman. Here in the classics faculty, is anybody in the classics faculty called? Okay. This is a centre, this is a centre we share, but classicists basically kneecap what classical studies mean, round normally at the point at which either Rome falls or the Empire Christianizes. And we get very worried as historians about periodization. You have anxious and deep thought, sleepless nights worrying about periodization. Well, we do, because when you say classics starts with the ancient Greeks and ends sort of with the fall of Rome, that creates some kind of territory that means that if you're a historian who works on the cusp of both, you're a no man's land. In the same way that I can't understand how we can have a faculty of classics here today in the 21st century that only covers Roman, Latin and Greek. What about Sanskrit? What about Persian? What about sources from Southeast Asia? How are they not classics? And I had to complain to the Telegraph earlier this year. They did a sort of roundup. The Telegraph love doing lists, it's cheap to do lists, of the 10 most important classical texts. And every single one of them is Roman and Greek. There's no Mahabharata, there's no Ramayana, there's none of these great epics from elsewhere in the world, because we are obsessed with thinking that somehow this bit is all special and we need to study it and learn it. And in fact, so that the failure to look at this part even of Europe is telling us that lopsided view of what was actually important, well, certainly 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, that we're missing it all off. And actually what this is, this stuff that you will learn about, including the Romans in Britain, Battle of Hastings, is all, you've heard history's written by the minutes. This is the narrative of what you learn about. So unless you've studied the Byzantine world, you don't know how Russia starts. These markings in blue and then in red are to do with trade from about 800 to about 1,000 or so. We run a big project here called Dirhams for Slaves. And the trick is in the name. Here in Europe, faced with trying to trade with this world that is wealthy, connected, fairly tolerant, I'll talk about Islam in a second, where there's large levels of interest in ideas and spreads of language, literature, and so on and so forth. Europe's not got very much to offer in return. We're quite good from 400 AD to about 1100, quite good at making very heavy swords. And very heavy swords look nice, and they're quite good when you're fighting in conditions like tight, because actually getting a bit of sweat going is quite useful. They're not so good when it's 35 degrees centigrade. But so there's a sort of a market in curios of swords. Amber starts to be traded. But the one thing we have in vast numbers in Europe that is able to enter into these trading mechanisms are human beings. And if you start to ask questions about everything you see around you, does anybody know what the word chow means, if you haven't read my book? Chow, it's just one of those throwaway words, right? So you walk into a bar in Italy and so on. Chow is from the Venetian schiavo, which means I'm your slave. Because Venice, like Dublin, like Utrecht, like Verdun, like Mainz, like Prague, like Marseille, grew as slave-holding, slave-paying centres. That's how those great European cities started their lives. And flourished, because they did very well for them. Chow is a kind of joke. And in fact, so much the jokes go that we don't do my generation, but my parents' generation, in Austria particularly, but also in Germany, you might say servus to each other when you say hello. And this word chow comes from here because the Venetians were the primary slave traders until the Vikings got in on the act. But the extent of what that slave trade means is given to all the people who lived at the eastern side of this line, where, roughly speaking, the Berlin Wall came. What do we call all these different countries here? All connected? Slavonic. Slavic. So guess what word comes from Slavic? Right. So when we talk about slavery, we have the protests here. It's not just about transatlantic slavery. It asks much more fundamental questions about, are human beings, why do we find it so easy to enslave each other? How does this muscle memory, how does this history, when we pay no attention to the culture of these regions, how does that sound to Russian, Polish, Czech, Bulgarian ears, where there's huge amounts of local culture, literature and so on that we could look at but choose not to because we're too busy doing other things. But the Vikings take over these slave trading routes, and of course, like I say, sources are not always reliable. But these lines tell us roughly the way in which coins are deposited, particularly here in Scandinavia, in Sweden, in Gotland here, or in Finland, and indeed different parts of what's now Western Poland, Eastern Poland, Western Ukraine. But along all these lines, we find silver coins, numbering not in their thousands, or their tens of thousands, or their hundreds of thousands, or their millions, but probably not even in their tens of millions. Some of my colleagues think that the scale of trade numbered in their hundreds of millions. And we find slave buying guides all over the world here in the East, both in Arabic and Persian and Turkic. explaining how to buy good slaves. So that chunk, about 1,000 years, that you miss out, there's some quite interesting stuff going on elsewhere. It would seem to me that this part of the world too is worth studying, because this is where all of our global religions come from. So Judaism, Christianity, Islam, okay, I'll grant you that Islam rises here in Mecca and Medina, but it's no coincidence that the heart of the Islamic world finds its feet here in Damascus, in Mosul, in Mosul, in Ray, in Isfahan, Nishapur, but then above all in the great city of peace, Baghdad. Hinduism and Buddhism are drawn out of northern India and give their ideas, and they borrow visual forms. So things like the halo, the classic sign of sanctity in Christian art, is equally understood as a sign of sanctity in Zoroastrianism, in Buddhism, in Hinduism, and so on and so forth. Because this bit here in the middle, that bridge that no one talks about, some of you will be doing papers on China, trying to understand it, this bit in the middle is also where all of the world's great language groups, apart from the Mesoamerican, all the world's major great language groups collide. The Semitic languages, the Indo-European, right? All of you, you've heard the word Indo-European, and some of the linguistics specialists, Indo-European. So we kind of think, well, we're all Indo-European over here, so migration and movement of peoples and languages, we must have some kind of connection. I've got no idea what it is, because you don't ask the question. Like the same way when you fly to New York and the nice gentlemen put on their rubber gloves and tell you that they're going to now search you, which they do that, you have to take a box saying, I had to take a box I was there a couple of months ago saying I'm Caucasian, defining my ethnicity from this mountain range here. Right? So all of this flexible stuff that's in the air, these sort of things that we just accept because we don't ever stop and pause and think, this is all the language groups, all the religions all flourish, and they borrow, they compete, they try and win hearts and minds, sometimes they even fight. But layering on top of these big roots, the trade routes, I put here in the dark black arrow, the spread of the Black Death, because when people travel, as you know, they bring with them their ideas, they bring with them the different foods they eat, they bring with them the different clothes, and you, if you're open-minded, you sit and you learn and you listen. And if there are things that people do, like wearing jeans, everybody wears jeans, most of you wear jeans, because that's what everyone else does, and you don't want to be left behind. But equally different tastes. We're all quite curious as a species. We want to learn. That's why you're here tonight. Ideas are being pumped out, but you want to then decide what you agree with, what you don't agree with. But along these routes you find movement of goods, of disease, of DNA, of flora and fauna. You can track along here spread of walnuts, spread of tulips, and so on. Europe in the early modern period, and then of course in the big fat lines, also the Mongols. I had to give a big talk about the Mongols the other day, who are not the merciless, brutal overlords that we think they are. Actually, the right question with the Mongols is how is it possible between 1205, with the death of Genghis Khan in 1227, how is it possible to build an empire that reaches